My mom told me I couldn't afford Dad's birthday dinner, then the staff greeted me as the boss. The blood rushed to my fingertips, making them tingle as I held the key card to my own hotel, watching my sister block the entrance. My father's booming laughter echoed from inside the grand marble lobby, the lobby I designed, the hotel I owned, while I stood outside like an unwanted door-to-door salesperson. "You can't seriously think you're coming in," Jessica said, her voice dropping to a condescending whisper. She adjusted her designer dress, a knockoff I recognized immediately from the preliminary sketches my fashion designer friend had shared during our lunch at Nobu last week, and planted herself more firmly in the doorway. "This is the Metropolitan Grand, Lillian. The prix-fixe dinner alone costs more than you make in a month." If she only knew I'd personally created that menu with our James Beard award-winning chef. "Here's my father too," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. The small envelope in my clutch, containing the deed to a beachfront estate in the Hamptons, one of the Metropolitan Grand's most exclusive properties, suddenly felt heavy. "My name is Lillian, I'm 34, and I'm a hospitality entrepreneur. This is the story of how I reclaimed my place at a table I actually owned. Mom and Dad were very specific," Jessica continued, checking her reflection in the glass doors. "They only want successful people here, people who won't embarrass the family." The irony struck me like a physical blow. Just yesterday, I'd signed off on a $150 million expansion of the Metropolitan Grand chain. Today, I was apparently too embarrassing to enter my own hotel. I fought the urge to laugh as the absurdity crashed over me. 10 years ago, when I decided to leave the family's small accounting firm to pursue hospitality management, they'd all but disowned me. My father's words still resonated: "No daughter of mine is going to be a glorified waitress." So I'd let them think what they wanted. Let them believe I was struggling in restaurant management. Meanwhile, I'd built Sterling Hospitality Group into one of the most successful luxury hotel chains in the country. The glorified waitress now owned 42 five-star hotels across 4 continents. "Lillian." My mother's sharp voice cut through my thoughts as she appeared behind Jessica. "What are you doing here? We discussed this." No, they had discussed it. I'd received a text message from my mother this morning: "Don't come to Dad's birthday. It's at the Metropolitan Grand. You can't afford it. Don't embarrass us." "I brought a gift," I said quietly, holding up the small envelope. "Oh, what is it?" "A gift card to Applebee's." Jessica laughed. "Or did you scrape together enough tips to buy him something from the mall?" My mother's eyes narrowed at my simple clutch bag, a handmade Italian leather piece that cost more than Jessica's Honda Civic. "Whatever it is, I'm sure your sister's gift is more appropriate," she said. "She just made junior partner at her firm, you know." I knew. Just like I knew her firm was currently in negotiations to lease office space in one of my buildings. The lease they desperately needed and couldn't quite afford. My real estate division had sent me the reports just yesterday. "Jessica's doing so well," Mom continued, warming to her favorite topic. "New house in Westchester, luxury Lexus, wonderful fiancé with such good prospects." She paused, giving me a critical once-over. "And you, well, at least you're trying, I suppose." I thought about my penthouse overlooking Manhattan, my collection of rare sports cars, the private jet I'd flown in on this morning. "Yes, Mom. At least I'm trying." "Speaking of trying," Jessica smirked, "that dress, couldn't you have made an effort? This is the Metropolitan Grand, not some Denny's." I ran my hand over the sophisticated black silk, custom-made by one of Milan's most exclusive designers, the same designer who had refused to make anything for Jessica last month. A detail I'd learned when my stylist mentioned the incident during my last fitting. "It's what I could manage," I said mildly. "Well, you can't come in," Jessica declared. "We reserved the entire platinum floor. It's for family and distinguished guests only." The platinum floor. My platinum floor. The one I'd personally redesigned last year, down to selecting every piece of artwork and Waterford crystal chandelier. The distinguished guests being? I asked, genuinely curious about who they'd invited. "Oh, you wouldn't know them," my mother waved her hand dismissively. "The Hendersons, they own that successful law firm. The Washingtons, old money, you know. And Mr. Patterson from Chase Manhattan. All very important people." I suppressed a smile. Thomas Henderson leased 3 of my properties. The Washingtons had recently begged for membership at my most exclusive resort in Martha's Vineyard. And Mr. Patterson, His bank was currently seeking a major loan from my investment group. Right, I said. Very important people. Exactly, Jessica said, clearly pleased I understood my place. So you see why you can't be here. What would people think if they knew Dad's failure of a daughter was serving their drinks? Jessica, our mother chided softly, though her eyes showed approval. Be nice. Lillian made her choices. If she'd stayed with the family firm like you did, things would be different. The family firm that now occupied a modest office in one of my buildings, always barely making rent. My property manager sent me monthly reports on all tenants, including my family's struggling business. Just then, my brother-in-law Craig appeared, straightening his tie. What's taking so long? Everyone's waiting for. He spotted me and his face dropped. Lillian? Didn't expect to see you here. Clearly not, I replied. Craig just made vice president at his bank, my mother announced proudly. Junior vice president, I corrected automatically, knowing his exact position because his bank handled some of my smaller accounts. My financial team provided me detailed reports on all our banking partners. Well, it's more impressive than whatever you're doing, Jessica snapped. What is it now? Assistant manager at some chain restaurant. I thought about the board meeting I'd left early this morning, where we discussed acquiring that very bank Craig worked for. The paperwork was probably still sitting on my desk upstairs in my private office. Something like that, I said. This is ridiculous, my mother declared. Lillian, just go. You're making a scene. I'll tell your father you couldn't make it. Couldn't afford it, you mean, Jessica added with a laugh. I looked past them through the grand entrance at the hotel I'd built from the ground up, at the marble floors I'd selected, the crystal chandeliers I'd commissioned, the artwork I'd personally curated. All of it, every inch, was mine. For a moment, I considered walking away. Let them have their party. Let them keep believing what they wanted to believe. But then I remembered something my first mentor had told me: success doesn't mean anything if you can't stand up for yourself. My jaw tightened as I straightened my shoulders, feeling the strength of everything I'd built without their support or approval. My fingers stopped tingling, a calm clarity washing over me. Actually, I said quietly, I think I'll stay. Before my mother could respond, the heavy glass doors swung open and Marcus, my head of security, stepped out. He'd been with me since I bought my first struggling hotel 8 years ago, helping transform it into the flagship of the Sterling chain. Is everything all right here, Madam CEO? His voice carried clearly across the entrance. Your usual table is ready, and Chef Rodriguez held the menu tasting for your approval. The silence that followed was deafening. Jessica's mouth fell open, her perfectly applied MAC lipstick suddenly garish against her pale face. My mother gripped the brass door handle for support. Marcus, I smiled warmly. Perfect timing. My family was just explaining how I couldn't afford to dine here. He looked genuinely confused. But you own the entire hotel chain. Yes, I do. I turned to my stunned family. Shall we go inside? I believe you've reserved the platinum floor. My platinum floor, to be precise. Craig found his voice first. This is some kind of joke. You're just a restaurant manager. Actually, Marcus interjected professionally, Miss Lillian is the founder and CEO of Sterling Hospitality Group. She owns all 42 metropolitan grand hotels worldwide, along with our resort properties and restaurant chains. Jessica's designer clutch slipped from her fingers, clattering on the marble steps. But that's impossible. The Metropolitan Grand is worth billions. Which makes your comment about me not being able to afford the prix menu rather amusing, I finished for her. I stepped past them into my hotel's lobby, where the staff immediately straightened to attention. Good evening, Miss Lillian, my front desk manager called out. The executive suite is prepared for your father's birthday celebration. Thank you, Rachel. I turned back to my family, still frozen in the doorway. Coming. They followed me in silence, looking around as if seeing the hotel for the first time. Every staff member we passed greeted me by name, each showing the genuine respect I'd earned through years of hands-on leadership. But your dress, my mother finally managed, staring at my simple black dress with new eyes. Custom made in Milan. Around $35,000, I believe. I have a terrible habit of not checking price tags anymore. I led them to the private elevator, the one that required a special key I pulled from my clutch. Unlike Jessica's dress, which I believe is a knockoff, the real Versace collection hasn't been released yet. I know because I attended the private showing last month. The elevator doors opened directly into the Platinum Lounge, where my father's birthday celebration was in full swing. The room fell silent as we entered. Lillian. My father stood up from his place at the head table, his face a mix of shock and confusion. What are you doing here? Your mother said you couldn't afford. I finished, walking over to him. Happy birthday, Dad. I hope you don't mind that I'm crashing the party in my own hotel. Your hotel. Mr. Patterson from Chase Manhattan stepped forward, his face breaking into a relieved smile. Miss Lillian. I had no idea you were related to Robert Thompson. We've been trying to secure a meeting with you for months about that loan. Lillian owns the Metropolitan Grand. Thomas Henderson joined in. My God, Robert, your daughter is the mysterious CEO who's been buying up prime real estate across Manhattan. My father sank back into his chair, the color draining from his face. All this time, when we thought you were just a glorified waitress. I raised an eyebrow. Your words, I believe, from the day I left the family firm to pursue my dreams in hospitality. But why didn't you tell us? My mother demanded, still clutching her pearls like a lifeline. Would you have believed me? I asked quietly. You didn't believe in me 10 years ago when I needed your support. Why would I share my success with people who only measure worth by the size of someone's bank account? I paused. Though by that metric, I suppose I'm worth more than everyone in this room combined. Jessica collapsed into a nearby chair, her face ashen. The villa in the Hamptons I tried to rent last summer, the one that was mysteriously unavailable. Mine, I confirmed. My property manager forwarded me your reservation request, not realizing the connection. I glanced at Craig. Just like the office building your firm is struggling to lease, Craig. And the resort membership you've been wait-listed for, Mother. Lillian, my father started, his voice unsteady. We. Save it. I held up my hand. I didn't reveal this to hurt you, though you've hurt me plenty over the years. I did it because I'm tired of hiding my success to spare your pride. I turned to address the room. Please, enjoy the party. Everything is on the house. My house. I started to walk away, then paused. Oh, and Dad? That envelope Jessica wouldn't let me give you? It's the deed to a beachfront estate in the Hamptons, one of my most exclusive properties. Consider it a birthday gift from your failure of a daughter. The next hour was surreal. People who had ignored me at previous family gatherings suddenly wanted to discuss business opportunities. The Washingtons practically begged for that resort membership. Mr. Patterson cornered me about his bank's loan application. Through it all, my family sat in stunned silence. Jessica's fiancé disappeared after learning her guaranteed future partnership at her firm depended on a lease she couldn't afford in my building. Craig kept making calls, presumably to update his resume. My mother alternated between crying and trying to explain to other guests that she'd always believed in her daughter's potential. As the evening wound down, I found my father alone on the terrace, staring out at the city lights. Those buildings, he pointed to the skyline. How many do you own? Enough, I replied, standing beside him. The family firm's building included. He nodded slowly. I was wrong about you, Lillian. So terribly wrong. Yes, I agreed. You were. Can you ever forgive us? I considered his question, thinking about all the years of dismissal and condescension. Forgiveness isn't the issue, Dad. Respect is. You never respected my choices or believed in my abilities. You only respect success after it's proven. And now? He asked quietly. Now? I smiled slightly. You can tell people your daughter owns the Metropolitan Grand. That should satisfy your need for impressive dinner party conversation. I left him there, heading to my private office on the top floor. Tomorrow, the family dynamic would shift dramatically. Jessica would no longer be the golden child. My mother would frantically rewrite history to claim she'd always supported me. Craig and his bank would probably face acquisition. But tonight, I'd finally taken my seat at the table. A table I'd built myself, in a room I owned, under a roof I'd paid for. And that was worth more than any amount of belated family approval. The next morning, I sat in my penthouse office, watching the sun rise over Manhattan. My assistant had already fielded 17 calls from family members, Jessica wanting to discuss business opportunities, my mother requesting lunch to catch up, and Craig asking about potential positions at Sterling Hospitality. I'd ignored them all. Instead, I focused on what really mattered: the expansion plans spread across my mahogany desk, the new resort concepts my team had developed, the charitable foundation I was launching for young entrepreneurs from working-class families. My phone buzzed. A text from my father: "Thank you for the Hamptons house. I don't deserve it, but I'll treasure it. Can we start over?" I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back, "We can start with respect, Dad. Everything else we'll have to earn." 3 months later, I stood before the New York Hospitality Association as they presented me with their Entrepreneur of the Year award. In the audience sat my parents, Jessica, and Craig, finally seeing me for who I truly was. "Success," I said into the microphone, "isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right." 10 years ago, I was told I'd never amount to anything more than a glorified waitress. Tonight, I stand before you as the CEO of a billion-dollar hospitality empire. I paused, my eyes finding my family in the crowd. But the real victory isn't in the hotels I own or the money I've made. It's in the courage to bet on yourself when nobody else will. It's in building something meaningful, even when the people who should support you most choose to tear you down instead. The applause was thunderous, but what mattered most was the look of genuine pride in my father's eyes, not pride in my wealth or status, but pride in the woman I'd become despite everything. After the ceremony, as I stood on the hotel rooftop where it all began, I realized something profound. I hadn't just reclaimed my place at their table. I'd built my own table, one big enough for anyone willing to dream big and work hard. And that table would always have room for one more.